Baby, what's going on? Player Profiler Day. Again, not Bradley Stalder. My name's Tyler. You may have seen me on the draft stream reacting to Michael Penix being selected by the Atlanta Falcons, my Atlanta Falcons. You may have saw that, or you may have seen me on various of other occasions on this channel. But today we're going to be breaking down the top rookie back landing spots. Now, this isn't necessarily a top rookie back ranking video. This is kind of more just looking at the landing spots, but also a mix of the talent. I would have to say it's more like a 75% landing spot, 25% talent, because I'm not going to rank I'll get into it. You'll see what I mean, but we're going to be doing that. Maybe dive into some of the other draft related stuff, but let's just get into it, baby. Let's go. All right, now here we're just going to dive right into it. We're just going to get right into all the meat on the bone, and this is what I got for you guys. So I made this list, and it's pretty much just the kind of the big boys. So this big boys is the list of 12. Let me see if I can. There we go. I'm centering it a little bit more for y'all, but basically, I'm more breaking down the landing spots. I'm just looking at like which teams are the best to succeed as a rookie running back. And we'll go through all these. This is kind of my overall list, and I'll break each one down. And let's just start right away with Jonathan Brooks. Now, Jonathan Brooks, he's the first running back off the board. He goes to Carolina. Now, I thought you may be saying like Tyler, like Arizona, great landing spot. Rams, a lot of good running backs coming out of the Rams. But this is looking at the team. This is looking at the situation they're stepping into. And then again, we're not going to be really comparing a guy like Jonathan Brooks with a guy like maybe who's a good example of someone I wrote down, like Braylon Allen, right? Jonathan Brooks goes in the second round, and Braylon Allen goes much later. So we're gonna be it's a little bit of a skill gap here, in terms of like I'm trying to keep everything relative. These feel like the big guys in my opinion right here, but Jonathan Brooks going to Carolina. Now, I really didn't think Carolina would draft a running back. Like, they just have so many other needs. Like, everyone knew they needed a receiver, they needed O-line, felt like they needed everything but running back. Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders, they can't even get away from Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is going to be on that team, still making a ton of money, probably the most money in that backfield, which he could be the RB3 when everything's said and done. But the Panthers drafting Jonathan Brooks just shows you how much of an emphasis they want to put on the running back position, right? Like, they had so many other needs, yet they went out of their way to go get a running back. And we've all heard Dave Canales talk about, we want to run the ball. We want to run the ball. Rashad White, third last year in carries, I believe, for Tampa Bay when Dave Canales was calling plays. So, like Matty Q said it best during the draft stream. This is the only time of year these NFL teams cannot lie to us. It is apparent that the Carolina Panthers want to run the ball, and that's why they drafted Jonathan Brooks. And I believe they actually traded up to get Jonathan Brooks. So absolutely, that just feels to me like, yeah, they're a bad team. They may not have as good of an offense this year as Arizona, as the Rams, as Buffalo, like all these other teams. Carolina's offense probably worse than all of them, but they want to run the ball. It's going to be focused around these running backs. We saw what Rashad White did last year, so that's why I'm kind of in on Jonathan Brooks in this landing spot. And he definitely should be the first running back off the board in your rookie drafts, in redraft, best ball, whatever you're playing. Jonathan Brooks is going to be the guy. Yes, there's the ACL, but the situation he's stepping into, he's not stepping into a situation with a James Conner, with a Kyron Williams, with a James Cook. This is his backfield for the taking. So this is the clear-cut favorite to me in terms of the best rookie running back landing spot is this Jonathan Brooks selection. So the number 2, I put Trey Benson. Now, Trey Benson, he's going to Arizona, kind of an up-and-coming offense, kind of a reset from the Cliff Kingsbury years, but he's behind James Conner right now. James Conner, the last year of his deal. So I just feel like Trey Benson, man, like he's a big speed score guy, weighs a lot, runs really fast, putting up Breece Hall type numbers at the combine. Not a better running back than Breece Hall, but he has that. If you can just figure out, how to read the O-line blocks a little better, how to read those gaps, that vision. If he can improve on that part of his game, like, he's got the traits to be like, I compared him in one of my articles to being a home run hitter. He's a home run hitter. He's a guy like Jorge Soler, if you know who that is, if you're into baseball, just, might strike out a lot, but he's every now and again, he's going to hit bombs, right? 60-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown. He's that kind of guy. He has that workhorse type of build to him. So this Arizona landing spot, I thought it was a really good landing spot for him. James Conner is there, yes, but if we're looking from a dynasty perspective, like, James Conner is not going to be there next year. I'd be shocked if he was there next year. Trey Benson going to be, kind of be groomed to be that next guy. So I really like the Arizona landing spot. He's still connected to Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison. That offense is going to get better with time. They were decent last year considering the talent they had to work with. Even when Dobbs was there, Kyler coming back toward the end of the year and had a nice game against the Eagles. So I really like this Arizona landing spot for Trey Benson. There's a lot of other places I thought he could have gone, which would have killed him, but in some other places that could have been better, right? Carolina would have been one, Dallas would have been one, Chargers would have been one, but Arizona, it's a good landing spot. Nothing to complain about there. So Trey Benson, in terms of landing spot, again, is my number 2. The way I'm looking at this, it's 75%. I'm just kind of going over the landing spots, 25 to 20% talent. So Trey Benson, Arizona, number 2 best landing spot in this class, in my opinion. And now we move on to number 3, Blake Corum. And this is just for the sole reason, look at all the running backs they have in the Sean McVay era that they have had, and this is like printing money, man. Like Todd Gurley, Darrell Henderson, and now we're on to Kyren Williams. Like, I think Blake Corum, like they wanted this guy. Like, they didn't need a running back. Like, yeah, if they wanted to get some depth, they could have done it in a lot later round. They took Blake Corum in the 3rd round. Like, this just tells me they're not like sold on Kyren. I think Kyren's still going to have a good season. He definitely does not belong in the 1st round in redraft anymore. In my opinion, his dynasty value does take a hit too, because Blake Corum's a 15 carry, 20 carry type of guy. He has that workhorse profile coming out of Michigan. He was my RB1 in the class, kind of a hot take, but I just really liked his production at Michigan. He was the offense at Michigan. I think he's a better pass catcher as well than Kyren Williams. I think he just has more in his game than Kyren does. Obviously, he's a better draft capital than Kyren Williams did. So that just tells you, like, they wanted Blake Corum. I think he's going to be a really good player in the league. If Trey Benson's a home run hitter, I would compare Blake Corum to like a guy who's going to hit like 320 over the course of a season, like really high batting average, maybe not going to hit as many home runs, but he's going to, pick up those chunks, those 10, 15, 20-yard chunk plays. Not necessarily have that breakaway speed, but he's probably the best pure runner in this class. If we're just talking about running the football and, go give me 7, 8, 9, 10 yards, goal line stuff, Blake Corum is your guy. And I think the Rams is a really good landing spot to do that. We just giving off the track record of the past running backs in the McVay system. So that's why I love this Rams landing spot. I love this for Blake Corum. I drafted a ton of him in best ball. So the Rams feels like a good place to put him at number 3, even though he's behind Kyren Williams right now. But I don't know if that'll be the case for much longer. And now we move on to my favorite one. If you've watched any of my content this year, you've been on my YouTube channel, you've been on this YouTube channel, whatever. Ray Davis, man. I've been preaching from the mountaintops about Ray Davis. And I was driving back from Detroit, couldn't stay that last day at the draft house, but I was driving back and I'm listening to the Player Profiler draft stream. And I just hear Cody on the NFL News Deck. He goes, he's like, there's a running back run going on right now in the draft. I think Garendo had been taken, Wright had been taken, Lloyd, all those guys. He's like, there's a running back run going on right now. And this next guy goes to Buffalo. He said the height, he said the weight, he said the age. I knew exactly who it was. Ray Davis gets drafted by Buffalo. And look at the landing spot, man, could not be better. Good draft capital, 4th round, about what I expected from a guy like Ray Davis. He was an uber producer at Michigan this last year, actually led the nation in receiving touchdowns in 2023 too for Division I college football amongst the running back position. So, but Ray Davis, he goes to Buffalo, man. And the best thing about this is I think he could get playing time right away. Like, James Cook doesn't have the profile, the workload, the body profile where he's going to get, like, they're going to treat him like a workhorse role. The workhorse, like, there are very, very, very few workhorse running backs left in the league. And I don't think James Cook is one of them. Ray Davis, he's a bigger body, a little shorter, but a bigger body, decent speed, unbelievable vision, great pass catcher. Like, I think this could be, we could, by the end of the season, and I clip it and ship it. I'm going to be bold on this one. We could see like a 1A, 1B type of thing with Ray Davis and James Cook. Like I truly believe that. And we have my boy Anthony in the chat. Buffalo been trying for the second running back, or trying for the second RB for a year now. 100%. Like they went out and they got draft capital on this guy. Like 4th round, great capital. When it went over the likes of guys like Braylon Allen, guys like Audrey Gaston. If you like those guys pre-draft, you better be into Ray Davis now, because he gets a great landing spot with Buffalo. We know that offense. They're probably going to pass a lot this year. Like this could not, anything happens to James Cook, Ray Davis has the potential to step in there and, give you some really, really quality spot starts. So this is another one of the guys, kind of like how I was saying with Jonathan Brooks, dynasty, redraft, best ball. It doesn't matter. Go get this guy on your teams. Buffalo is a great landing spot. James Cook, he's good. He's a good player, but he's not a better player than Kyron Williams. I would almost even take James Conner over him. Kind of a hot take, but I think this Buffalo landing spot was great for Ray Davis. Now let's get into our next spot, the number 5 slot, Will Shipley. Now, this was an interesting pick. He got decent draft capital, I believe 4th, 5th round draft capital on day 3, and he goes to Philadelphia. And Theo Greminger was saying, again, I was listening to the stream on the way back here, but Will Shipley is like, if anything happens to Saquon, Will Shipley profiles to be one of those workhorse running backs where he has great size. He's got good speed. He's got that workhorse type of frame. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. So I think Will Shipley in Philadelphia, they just signed Saquon to a deal. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a pathway to the job being his in a year or two. That doesn't feel right. But if anything happens to Saquon, an injury that keeps him sidelined for 6 weeks, or he has a devastating knee injury, or something like a season-ending type of thing, which, knock on wood, hopefully we don't get. But Will Shipley, he has that profile from Clemson. He has that size, that speed, that pass catching upside, where I think he could be really good in the certain situation in Philly. Again, great offense, great O-line. They went out and got this guy. So Will Shipley lands into a really good spot. And here we go. Jeremiah says Kamani Vidal season. I do have Vidal on here. So, and this is kind of where we get into that 25-75% thing I was talking about, where like you could probably argue that San Francisco is a better landing spot than Philly. But like in terms of as you would relate it to your leagues, like Will Shipley is a 10 times better running back than Garendo. I even think Garendo went ahead of him, but I mean, I'm Garendo. They took him because he's like pretty much a Raheem Mostert like kind of guy. Yeah, that sounds good, but like Raheem Mostert hit like his pretty high ceiling outcome. Garendo's not a lot to do that. He couldn't get on the field when Jonathan Taylor was there. Understandably, he couldn't get on the field when Braylon Allen was there, who actually went over in the draft, which is crazy. And he barely got on the field in Louisville. He wasn't even the starter in Louisville either. So Garendo, he has the traits, but it just doesn't feel like he's that great of a running back, in my opinion. Like, I could be wrong. I could be eating my words, maybe a couple of years from now. But McCaffrey's there. Yeah, if McCaffrey goes down, I think they still have other guys they like. Elijah Mitchell's still there. Jordan Mason's always kind of been in the mix. I just feel like it's kind of a crowded backfield after you even if something would happen to McCaffrey. I feel like it's not as crowded. If something happens to Saquon, it's pretty much a Shipley, Gainwell, Boston Scott. I like Shipley to clear all of those other guys. And while we're talking about the rookies, let's hop in. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's this thing called the rookie guide. If I can find the freaking ad for it. This is amateur hour over here. Oh my God. I was literally just looking at it. New pro. Oh no, disaster class. You know what? No, don't go check out the rookie guide, but let's hear an ad from the Dynasty Deluxe.
This episode is brought to you by Player Profiler, the Dynasty Deluxe package. The rankings are the best in the industry. It includes strategy mode where you can say, hey, change the rankings to be win now. Oh, change the rankings to be productive struggle. There's also a draft planner to help strategize where you should take players, because the draft planner also includes ADP. There's a trade finder where we look up on My Fantasy League and we see trades that are done, including a particular player. Then there's a trade analyzer where you can plug in draft picks, players, and we assign a lifetime value to draft picks out 5 years. The best thing about our trade analyzer, it can't be gamed with volume. And there's mock draft data to see right now what's the market for player X versus player Y, including in the fall when very few mock drafts are happening. And our Dynasty guide, the Dynasty Dominator, would cost you $10 on Amazon, but you get it for free with Dynasty Deluxe, and you get our rookie guide for free, a $25 value. So you get all of that for $45. I mean, it's a great deal.
It is a great deal. It's a fantastic deal. And while we were doing that, we have breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news on Player Profiler Today. Former Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup plans to sign a one-year deal up to $3 million with the Las Vegas Raiders. So a former Cowboy going to the Las Vegas Raiders to link up with Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. High-flying offense in Las Vegas. Not really, but, shock, just a great development. Great breaking news. How does this affect CeeDee Lamb? Is the real question. CeeDee Lamb might have finished the year with 350 targets. He might have more targets than any running back has carries. Let's be like, oh my God, he's going to get fed this offseason or this next season. So let's continue on the rookie rankings train. We'll kind of power through most of these. There's another tier under this. I just left some room to be desired. Not too much, but a couple of running backs. If you don't see them here, they're on the page under this one. So let's dive back into it. We talked about Garendo. Let's get to Jalen Wright. Now, Jalen Wright, a guy that a lot of people loved. I know Matty Keewan was a huge Jalen Wright fan. Great speed. Kind of played at what people are calling a Mickey Mouse offense at Tennessee. He would see like 3-man boxes, 4, 5-man boxes, like just crazy stuff. So yeah, he averaged like 7-8 yards per carry while he was at Tennessee. But Jalen Wright goes to Miami, just the ultimate luxury pick, man. Like, yeah, we got Mostert. We drafted Achane in this round last year. You know what? We know what we need. Another running back who's just an absolute blazer. They draft Jalen Wright, and I just don't see the upside this year, especially, and even years down the road. Like, they re-signed Mostert. They could have, would have been like, Mostert, this is the last year of your – this was supposed to be the last year of his deal, and they extend him, like, for another 2 years. So Mostert could definitely still be involved there. Granted, they could probably get out of that contract really easily, but, I mean, Achane's another name you're going to have to steal touches from. Like, it just feels like there's a couple of guys he's got to jump before he's really going to see that much of the field. Like, at least Garendo, you can easy path for him being the second guy. You got Shipley, same thing. Davis, same thing. So on and so forth. Like, Jalen Wright just feels a little messy there. Feels a little messy in Miami. That Miami backfield's very crowded, in my opinion. But yeah, well, there we go. How does this affect Marlon Mack? It doesn't affect Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack, dust. Absolute dust. So we got Jalen Wright here. Let's move on to Marshawn Lloyd right here. And Marshawn Lloyd, similar Jalen Wright thing where he's going to be more of a 2. You can even make the case that Marshawn Lloyd should maybe in the 7th spot if we're just talking about draft capital. But Josh Jacobs, like, they just signed him to an entire new deal. So if something happens to Josh Jacobs, Marshawn Lloyd's going to have trouble seeing the field. A.J. Dillon, might be involved. But if, like, Marshawn Lloyd can't beat out A.J. Dillon, then there's bigger problems for Marshawn Lloyd than just, a pathway to usage in Green Bay. So I have Marshawn Lloyd ranked at 8. And number 9 was an interesting one, kind of that tier gap thing where I was talking about that skill gap where I think Marshawn Lloyd's a much better player than Estime, but Estime goes to Denver. And if you missed it on the draft stream, it was hilarious where Podfather was saying, Javonte Williams, such a buy. Oh, Denver's got a pick here. Who are they going to take? Oh no, it's Estime. Like it was he totally jinxed himself. He should have kept his mouth shut. But Estime, I have at number 9, the Denver landing spot. You hope they get back on track with that offense there. Hopefully Knicks, brings some more life, some more points, better fantasy backfield to Denver. But Estime, the thing about him is where, like, I would have loved to see him on a team like Buffalo, a team that doesn't have that big body, that goal line work. Javonte Williams is a big guy, man. Like, he can definitely profile as a goal line running back. The thing that I don't like about the Denver landing spot is Javonte Williams is already there. Like, if he goes to a team like Buffalo, James Cook, not really a goal line rusher. I would have loved to see him in Buffalo. Probably would have had some goal line touchdowns in that offense. Maybe same thing about the Chargers, right? I guess they have Gus Edwards. Maybe like Bucky Irving, Tampa Bay. Rashad White, he's kind of big, but Estime is a big dude. So I just would have loved to see, a place that has more of like those skillful running backs, pass catchers, speed guys, maybe not big broly goal line back guys. And so it's a fine landing spot. I think Javonte Williams is fine. I think some people have overreacted and say that he's dust. His value decreases, but Sean Payton didn't seem too fired up. Like that's not a quote of him talking about Estime. Like he's like, whatever, we'll see what he can do, kind of thing. That's what That's the vibe I got from that press conference, at least. So I think Javonte Williams shares are more than safe. I would even say he's a sneaky buy if people are worried about the estimate factor, but I'm not one of those people. I would still go out and buy Javonte Williams. Now let's go to Jeremiah's guy, Kamani Vidal here, coming in my number 10 spot. And this landing spot is great, especially when you look at I probably should have Kamani Vidal higher. I probably should have him at 8 or 7 because there's a lot of people that love this guy. He got drafted a little too late for me. So that's kind of that thing I was talking about where, you can talk about like all these guys right here, Corum, Davis, Shipley, Garendo, Wright, Lloyd, all those guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th round guys. Vidal goes really late, like 6th, 7th round in the draft, doesn't feel great. If you're looking at the draft capital that he got, it's supposed to be, I feel like he's supposed to go a lot higher, but the draft capital does scare me, which is why I have him this low. They have Gus Edwards there, they have Dobbins. I think Vidal could really be used as a pass catcher out of that Chargers offense, but it just the path to targets could be tough for this year, could be tough for the next couple of years, especially for a team that really wants to run the football. They're not really too worried about passing to their running backs. They want to run the football, and Vidal, it just doesn't seem like there's some guys he's going to have to jump if he's going to want to, be a legit fantasy guy. So Vidal was a sleeper for most coming into this thing, but I'm a little scared given the draft capital and just the kind of runners that we've seen succeed with Harbaugh in the past. Corum, best pure runner in the class, right? You got Frank Gore going back to San Francisco. Just all these just big backs, just we're going to run it down your throat. That doesn't really strike me as a Kamani Vidal strength. So that's why we have him at 10. Now, Dylan Lobby, another guy who goes really late, goes to Vegas, though, which is a pretty good landing spot. They have Zamir White. Not much else after that, which is really good. So I think that was good again, but a little later in the draft than I think most would have liked to see. So that's why I have him down here as well, kind of that skill gap round draft capital difference. And then Bucky Irving, a guy who did go before Shipley, went before Ray Davis. Bucky, I don't see how he really provides any value unless you're playing like Dynasty, PPR, like whatever. Like Bucky Irving, like he's going to catch some passes. That's kind of his best thing, but he's not jumping Rashad White in goal line work. He's not taking rushes away from Rashad White, or Bucky Irving feels a little Deuce Vaughn-y, Deuce Vaughn-ish to me. Like he's really good at catching passes. He's really good in the open field, but he's not a guy who's ever like, even if Rashad White went down, I don't think Bucky Irving would ever be a guy to get 17, 15, 12 touches a game. I just don't see it happening. Kind of feels more like a gadget back, a guy that, kind of feels more like a Giovanni Bernard, a Theo Riddick, a Chris Thompson, kind of those names. If you remember those guys, that's kind of who he feels like. Can provide you some decent starts sometimes, but not going to be super impactful game changers for you in any way, especially in Tampa Bay when Rashad White's already there. They love White. They gave him the 3rd most carries last year. So not too thrilled about that landing spot for Bucky Irving. So I have him at 12. So these are the big boys. These are the kind of the guys everyone's talking about right now. So let's move down to the rest of our list. And we have these guys right here. So our honorable mentions, we have Tyrone Tracy Jr. going to the Giants. Decent landing spot, There's only Devin Singletary there. That's pretty much it. But this was the first year at Purdue. He transferred to Purdue. It was his first year ever playing running back. So, I think there's going to be a big skill gap, especially between the running back, between the college football game and the NFL game. So not too thrilled about that. And then we have Rasheen Ali. You got Derrick Henry there. You got Keaton Mitchell, who I think they absolutely loved. I think it's going to be hard for him to even pass up Keaton Mitchell, especially when he comes back healthy from his knee injury. Rasheen Ali is a tough path to production for me, unless a couple guys go down ahead of him. Now, just awful. Like this is just awful. Why the Jets would do this to us, especially with Braylon Allen. Like Braylon Allen already behind Breece Hall, Isaiah Davis going to be behind both of these guys. You can even make the case. Maybe Braylon Allen will be behind Isaiah Davis. Maybe Isaiah Davis will be behind Braylon Allen. Not great landing spot for either one. Abanakanda's there too. Like just such a crowded backfield behind Breece Hall in New York. Now, does it affect Breece Hall? I feel like it shouldn't, right? Hopefully it shouldn't, but who freaking knows, man? Just awful. This is the worst landing spot. This is the worst situation for Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis that could ever happen. And Abanikanda too. Like someone's gonna have to emerge, but they're pretty much emerging for like a couple carries a game. No one's cutting into Breece Hall's usage. That's just not going to happen, right? And then The last tier I have is the who actually cares tier. I'm not going to lie. I feel like I'm pretty locked in to fantasy football rookies. I've been doing my research. I had never heard of this player before. I had no clue they play running back. I'm pretty sure, this might have been the player who was like a safety, but also like wanted just to play running back in the NFL. I don't know. I'd never heard of this player before. I think they were from Texas, if I'm not mistaken, but I just not too locked into all of that. So I don't. Yeah, Jacksonville behind ETN, Dink Bigsby. Like, this is great for Travis Etienne though. But not really locked in. Jace McClellan behind Bijan, behind Algier. Tough path to target. Tough path to production for Jace McClellan from Alabama. And then we have Jawar Jordan. Again, this is the guy who actually started above Isaac Garendo at Louisville. Goes to Houston, behind Dameon Pierce, behind Joe Mixon. So again, who actually cares about these guys? I'd be shocked if any of these guys had more than 13 points in 13 fantasy points in any game in their career. I'd be shocked. So that's the list what I got for you guys. I hope you found it enjoying. And if you want some more content from me, I'm going to be streaming on my channel at PPR Tyler in about 4 minutes here. We're going to be doing Best Ball Mania, just dropped today. So if you want to check that out, we're going to have a great time over on my channel. Again, at PPR Tyler on YouTube, at PPR Tyler on Twitter. We're streaming some Best Ball, and we're going to be streaming every single day. My goal is 100 consecutive days with a stream, with a draft. It's going to be an absolute great time. That's all happening in 4 minutes. But thank you for listening to me talk about these rookie running backs. And if we don't see you over there, that's a shame. We'll see you hopefully, maybe in future streams, future drafts. But you guys have a good rest of your week. It's Monday, baby. Let's make this week an absolute superb one. Have a good day.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.